Why do you eat people?
Not people. Brains.
Brains only.
Yes.
Why?
The pain.
What about the pain?
The pain of being dead.
It hurts to be dead.
I can feel myself rot.
People to question where we live, you know, alternative viewpoints. You guys ever looked into the flat Earth?
Have we been to the flat Earth?
Well, you live on it actually, but
Oh, yeah.
when I say Earth to you, you know, what do you think of? You think of this, right?
That's right.
But you've never seen this from your perspective, right?
True.
Neither have I, obviously. So we've all been taking the testimony of astronauts and mainstream science, essentially, right?
Sure.
But we've never experienced any motion per se or curvature, really, right?
Sure.
And you know, when you look out at the lakes or any ocean, if you're flowing, the horizon is always completely flat, and water always assumes its level as well, right? So you got to wonder at what point does water bend if the Earth is about 71% water, roughly. You know, we never experience water curving, you know, and you cannot demonstrate water bending around a ball, you know, without some kind of force. Now we can say people will use the reasoning of gravity, which we're just told, which is still a theory, and which can be explained with relative density and dielectric acceleration, essentially. You know, y up is up, down is down, but there's no evidence there's some kind of magical force holding water to you know, to a
So what are you
ball.
going to tell me? The Earth is flat.
I would actually, don't want you to believe me. I would love for you to look into it for yourself. There's some information.
Yeah, I'll
You're
read
welcome
up
to
on it.
take a look into it on your own time. There's some YouTube, but there's, you know, there's a lot of misinformation out there. When you go on, say, YouTube or Google, you'll get about 100 pages of just people telling you they're debunking it and, you know, telling that we're wrong, but, you know, they'll never see an alternative viewpoint. It's completely censored now, right? Hello, would you like some information?
No.
So it's just, you know, question what you think you know, just when it comes down to it. I've been doing this for about 3 years, and I had to prove to myself that it is a globe, right? And then, you don't just become a flat earther overnight, but when you try to prove to yourself what they're claiming, you realize there's actually no evidence to support the spinning globe model, right? So, and if you ever question your government, which I certainly don't trust the government at all, you know, if you look into stuff like the moon landing hoax, which is pretty obvious to debunk that they didn't go to the moon, they still can't, and they still admit they lost the telemetry data, and it's been 50 years and they haven't been back, you know. Things like 9/11, for instance, as a complete inside job. So if you reach that part in questioning governments and that, then you know, you're halfway there. That, you know, these people are trying to control us, hide possibly a god from us, you know. So just take a look into it. You might be surprised what you might find out. Take care, guys. Have you heard about the flat Earth? You know, probably a lot of memes and stuff on Facebook, I'm sure, and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Well, the unfortunate thing is there's a lot of misinformation about it. So I'm just here handing out red pills just to get people to question it for themselves, as opposed to... Wait, there's a, you know, when you look into, if you type it on Google or YouTube, generally you're going to get like 100 pages of misinformation about it, right? There's a lot of disinformation, like for instance saying that Earth is a disc floating through space and all this. This is not what we're trying to say to people. We think Earth could very well be an infinite plane. There could be some kind of dome. But what we don't know is, and you get mockery like this, people just don't know nothing and just claimed to it's basically, what do you call it? Condemnation before investigation is your admittance to indoctrination, essentially, right? And it's the height of ignorance. People just ridicule something before they investigate it, and that's unfortunate because that's pretty much what the media and Facebook and everything else is kind of pushing us to do, is just mock it before you look into it. Because when you actually test the theory, planes don't adjust for curvature. Water is always assumes its level, no matter how high you fly. If you've ever flown, you can see forever the horizon is completely flat. Gyroscopes don't go upside down, on the other side of the Earth. And for instance, like flight paths even make more sense on a flat Earth model. Like most flights that are in the southern hemisphere will generally stop over in the northern hemisphere somewhere, and then back down to the south, like to Australia or whichever, right? But in fact, actually on this model here, it's kind of just straight across, right? So when you just start to look to find curvature, to test the theory yourself, it's kind of eye-opening because we don't claim to have the answers here, but we know what they're telling us is a bunch of nonsense, and we're being punished for stuff like climate change through taxes and gas and whatnot, when we believe that there's all kinds of geoengineering, weather modifications going on. If you've ever noticed chemtrails, today's actually a pretty clear day for chemtrails, but you ever look up and see all those trails in the sky from the planes? If they're claiming those are just planes, then how come they're not every day, right? They're coming from planes, but they're stratospheric aerosol injections. You can look these up. There's all kinds of reasoning that they're using to do them, but they're spraying such things as aluminum, barium, strontium, and then they're saying, global warming basically is what it really is. They've changed it to climate change, which is essentially they're trying to say greenhouse gassing effect caused by humans, trying to punish us. But they're creating the problem and then coming up with a solution, right? The whole problem, reaction, solution kind of deal. So essentially, when it comes down to, okay, what does it matter the shape of the Earth? Well, if they're lying to your whole life since birth, since you're in a classroom as a kid, you've had a globe in every one, right? Every movie Universal Studios has had since the 20s, the globe model in their movies, before they even had a real picture in space of the globe. And now they tell us it's an oblate spheroid, but it looks perfectly spherical in the pictures. In fact, there actually is no real picture of a globe. If you were to look up pictures of Google to find a picture of a globe, it's all CGI, artist rendering, and no stars in the background, and it's just unbelievable how they use projections like the Mercator's projection. It sounds silly at first, I know. But when you start to compare like the maps that they show us on the globe, which is based off the Mercator's projection map, they show we know Greenland and other countries are proportionally way bigger than they actually are, but yet they're still showing the same proportions on the globe. And America, on the picture of the many pictures of the globe they show us, it's different sizes in each picture of the globe. So you gotta wonder which is actually real, So I wouldn't expect you to believe me. I certainly hope you wouldn't. I would only here to, provoke thought, right?
Yeah,
that you would look into
your
it.
Information.
It's a lot to look into. It's a lot to take in. I mean, it's hard to
Good
break
for
your
you
biases.
To, be out here and try and get people understanding,
Exactly. I mean,
all you can do is test people.
Exactly. And I'm not afraid of people coming up and mockery and this because that's their own default, right? And I believe in karma. I absolutely believe in karma, and I do believe in a creator now too. I'm not a biblical person, but I absolutely believe in intelligent design. Very spiritual, yeah.
What's your horoscope?
I'm a Virgo.
Virgo.
Yeah, I fully believe in astrology. I believe astrology has a lot of truth to it, and we are spiritual consciousness souls, essentially, right? I think hive-minded consciousness is very much the art of dreaming and God itself, right? Love and how it's portrayed, and emotions and everything vibrates in some sort of electrical field, right? If you ever looked into the electrical frequency, the electrical universe theory, that's another really good one to look into. That everything is electrical, right? and kind of works with the whole what is gravity, which may be dielectric acceleration, and basically relative density. Things fall to the ground simply because they're heavier than air, right? Then there's still the argument as why up is up and down is down, and you can use it as a static plane example through an electrical universe that, just like dust and everything else in electrical devices, it always attracts to it, right? Earth is the grounding point to everything, and the higher you go, every meter there's 100 volts of electricity. That's why planes have to be destatic and everything else, right? We get electrical storms and everything up there. Are you familiar with Nikola Tesla? He actually, they named the highway after him here now, but he is the creator of alternate current, which is over 100 years ago. Hamilton was one of the first cities in the world to be fully electrified by hydroelectric dam through Niagara Falls, right? And that's Nikola Tesla. And he basically theorized the whole electrical universe theory and proved that everything is electric and we can use its power for free, essentially. He was building such things as the Wardenclyffe Tower, which was using the ionosphere as electrical charge and using the ground to conduct wireless electricity over 100 years ago, free. But guys like J.P. Morgan shut him down because they realized what he was doing. How you doing, guys? Like some information?
Yeah, sure.
Please take it.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for listening. Take care. Question everything. Assume nothing. How you doing? Can I offer you any information? You guys looked into the flat Earth at all?
I can't say I have.
No, just probably a lot of Facebook memes and news clips. That's unfortunate, right? And there's a lot of presuppositions, a lot of mockery, and that's kind of why I'm out here, because there's so much misinformation out there, right? You go to look up anything about flat Earth, Google or YouTube pretty much gives you like 100 pages of disinfo, right? You'll get, flat Earth debunked, flat Earth debunked. Well, if it's so easily debunked, then how come for the last 5 years it's been undebunked? You can't prove it wrong. Now, the memes such as Flat Earth Society, that's not who we are, that's misinformation. We believe that's government psyops, trying to say that Earth is a disk floating in space. When I say Earth to you, what do you think of? You think of this, right?
Yeah.
But none of us have ever seen this from our own perspective, correct? Neither have I. We're just taking the testimony of them. We don't experience any motion, we don't experience any curvature. You look out at the lake there, it's always flat on the horizon, completely motionless. There's no bulge. And then if you understand how big the actual Earth, what they're saying the globe size is, and then you go to look for the calculation of curvature from here to Toronto, which on some days you can see it clear as day. I haven't looked if I can see it today, but
You can today.
yeah, but sometimes you can see the whole sky dome there, which is only about 280 feet. Now, if you understand what they're saying, again, about 24,901 feet, or sorry, 1,000 miles is what they say the Earth's circumference is. That mathematics works out to be, when you square the distance, it's 8 inches per mile, and that's over 900 feet of curvature should be from here to Toronto. There's no way you'd be able to see the sky dome. You should see only the top of the buildings, and they would be kind of leaning back, would they not? Or you would see a bulge across the great bodies of water, which would be flowing. You know that you don't see that, you don't experience it. Planes, they don't adjust for curvature. It's just common sense when you really start to think about it, right? It's this that makes no sense. So if somebody's like, well, prove it's flat. Well, flat Earth it's an observation. It's not a claim. Spinning globe, that's a claim, and you have to be able to prove that. But if you can't prove that, absolutely they do. Yeah, condemnation before investigation is your admission to indoctrination.
All right, it was really nice to meet you.
Take care, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Hello. You guys ever scrutinize the globe? Would you like some information? Hello. You ever question the globe model that we're told we live on? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you there.
Earth is getting flat.
Yeah, would you like some information?
Okay.
some literature to read upon your own time. There's some links to YouTube videos and stuff you can check out.
Okay.
We don't experience curvature or motion of Earth. It's as simple as that. The Bible tells us it's flat. It's, you know, it's pretty obviously flat.
It's not flat.
Planes don't adjust for curvature. Water lays level,
Yeah.
right?
It's not overflowing.
Yeah, exactly. You get it. You take care. Oh, look at that freshly painted globe over there. Hello. You guys ever scrutinized the globe? Would you like some information on it? Got free pamphlets to encourage free thinking.
Really?
Gentlemen,
You're too young to believe that?
why would you say that? Everything you experience is... Where, look out to that water. Does it look like a bulge or does it look flat and motionless? Do planes adjust for curvature? Too young to believe in that, he says. Hello. You guys ever scrutinize the globe? Would you like some information? You take it with you. It's free. Would you like some information? You heard about the flat Earth?
No.
But you certainly experienced it, right? You experienced flat and motionless, right? When I say Earth, what do you think of? You probably think of this, right? But none of us have ever seen Earth from this perspective. We just take it for granted, and through testimonies of the mainstream, who tell us what to think, basically. But exactly, it's, this is more what we see is everything we experience is flat and motionless.
Mm-hmm.
The water, the horizon's always flat. I mean, if you've flown, I'm sure maybe you've seen it. It's quite flat and motionless.
So Christopher Columbus was right.
Well, he sailed to prove it was a globe, actually, but I would say that's just propaganda, right? To say he goes around, say what someone goes, okay, if I go east and they come back around, like say I go east and they land back to the same spot, well, that proves it's spherical. Well, it doesn't actually, because east and west, you're just doing a circle, right? Because east and west are governed by the North Pole. That's a fact, right?
Yeah.
And then you have south is always outward. There's actually no evidence that there is a South Pole. All compasses point north. So if you're going east and you stay on that eastern direction, you have to constantly maintain that direction, right? But if you just point east and go straight and not turn, eventually you'll be going south, right?
For sure.
So essentially, what Columbus did is he just did a circle. Nobody's ever circumnavigated the globe over polar
Nice point.
expeditions. So
Yeah.
planes, they don't adjust for curvature. There's just tons of things to look into, and I would ask you just to try and prove what you think you know, right? Kind of basically go back and revisit everything we've been learning in school, because every movie, ever since childhood and classrooms, we have a globe telling us what, that's where we live, but if they were lying to us our whole life about where we live, then we got to believe that they've been trying to control us pretty much our whole life, you know. So, and then, you know, many other things fall in line with this as well, with corruption, hiding a god, you know, faking the moon landings, things like 9/11. You know, when you go to fly, they claimed these terrorist attacks in 9/11 when it's pretty much been self-evident there was controlled demolition, and now we're treated like terrorists when we want to go fly or travel, right? So it's quite unfair when you think about it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Take
Good
care.
information. Thank you.
Thank you for lending me your ear.
She's around, she's a firm, she's a full intact. She's around the back of my head. She's flat like your head.
Hello, guy. Hello. You guys like some information about the flat Earth? Look into for yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
Call the boss and over in a hurry. No, no, this I'm not a fury. Standing there with all the scary. Take his head off, take it to the bone to wear it. Burn it till there's no remains. Evidence from which it came. All the smoke down in the furnace. Never thought that it would hurt us.
We scrutinize the globe. Careful there. You just need a little bell on those things now. Enjoying your day? Nice out in the sun? No chemtrails spraying today? Are you familiar with chemtrails, with geoengineering? No. The modification of weather. It's unfortunate, but it is happening. You know, we're being taxed for it, climate change, and I do believe that it's completely modified, that the cause of these droughts and forest fires and cold flashes that we're having, it's all due to modification of the weather. You know, when you look up and you see the trails of the planes, aerosol, stratospheric aerosol injections. Just look it up. Have you heard about the flat Earth? No. No, huh? Well, you live on one. Pardon? You live on one. Can I offer you some information to look into on your own time? Yeah, thank you. You know, when I say Earth, you know, you probably think of this, right? Yeah. But, you know, none of us have ever seen that from our own perspective, myself included. We just take the testimony of NASA and so-called scientists. But when you start using scientific method, you know, to observe, test, and repeat these things, you find there's no measurable curvature. Water always lays level. You know, for instance, the lake behind me, Lake Ontario, completely flat and motionless when undisturbed. You know, so we can't find any curvature. We can't measure it. We can't detect it. We can't detect emotion. We can see the whole Toronto skyline on a clear day. The whole, pretty much minus water swelling and some refraction, we can see the whole the sky dome at 280 feet, right? But the whole Toronto skyline is pretty much in view. So when you understand what they're telling us as far as curvature, there's supposed to be 900 feet there missing. It's a lot to take in, I get it. But when you really start to challenge these things and you know, leave the preconceived notions and rationalisms and prejudices at the door, you'd be surprised, you know, to the reality you start to come to. Do you believe in God? Yeah. I tell you what, I believe in the Creator absolutely now. Not so much a biblical person, but I absolutely believe in intelligent design. And the people who claim we live on a globe are the same people who are trying to tell us that God doesn't exist. You know, telling us that the Earth formed from a big bang of nothing, you know, billions of years ago, and we evolved from monkeys, you know, which is complete nonsense. It's all based off the theory of gravity, which is still a theory. So, you know, it really breaks it down, you know, that they're hiding a lot of stuff, you know, and I do believe that the globe itself is pretty much the prison for the mind, you know. You know, there's that sun, that cloud was blocking around me. A little bit windy today, huh, but, you know, can't complain. Oh, yeah, is he back there? No, we started. Oh, is he driving over? We walked from Brampton over. Okay. And across the bridge and up here, and it was real windy going across the bridge over the highway. I said, well, I'm not walking back over there. So he said, he goes, okay. He goes, you walk the hutches and I'll go get the car and meet you at hutches. Oh, yeah, hutches over there, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's over there, yeah. Yeah, it's a nice day for a walk, for sure. Yeah, he said, you guys, nice information. He said, give him about 20 minutes to walk back to the car. Yeah. Oh, you got some good reading material there. Yeah. Take care.
Offer you some information. Guys, would you like some information?
Why is the Earth flat?
More like the question is really, why is it a globe? You know, when you look out to that water, does it look flat or does it look like there's a bulge? When planes fly, do they adjust for curvature? Say it doesn't look flat?
It doesn't look flat, no.
Really? Because I can see a complete flat horizon myself.
That's an illusion. The horizon doesn't exist.
How's it an illusion?
The
Well,
horizon
the horizontal
is an
line that we
place.
see where the sky meets the water or the earth, it's flat. That's the horizon line.
Because you don't
not-
have enough of a view.
That's perspective, exactly. If ships disappear out of your viewpoint, they're simply just disappearing, they're converging. They're not going over an imaginary curve because you just take a telescope or a high optical zoom lens and they reappear. That's a fact. I've done this myself. You can do all kinds of tests where you can see across, see the whole entire Toronto skyline. But if you know what the curvature is and the math they're telling us, well then there should be about 900 feet there. It's out of your viewpoint, but that's not true. You can see the whole sky dome at 280 feet. That's a fact. Planes do not adjust for curvature.
Why would science be lying to us?
Well, it's more like academia, because science itself is, what is science? It's, it's testable, repeatable, and observable, right? That's scientific method. When you use those facts, those scientific methods to prove what you think you believe, you might think twice about what you think you believe, because you try and find evidence for the globe, you find none. The claim of the Earth being flat is not actually a claim, it's an observation. The claim that the Earth is spinning in a globe, that's a claim.
Space is fake.
Absolutely. It's nothing like they show you on TV in the movies. When you zoom up on stars, they don't look anything they show you. Try and find a real picture of a star or any planets.
Yeah.
They're all CGI. None of it is anything like they show us on TV or in the movies. That's a fact. Try and find a real picture of a satellite. Try and find a real picture of the globe. It's all CGI. I'm telling you, you look in it for yourself. Don't believe me. It's when you actually start to test these things, know your biases, test your, leave your nagging rationalism and preconceived notions at the door and, and prejudices, and just go into an open mind, and you'll be surprised what you might be able to learn when you test those things. Put them right down to the test. Again, go out, do the measurements if you need to. There's high altitude balloon footage. It's all completely flat. If you Google a lot of this stuff, there's a lot of misinformation. Google's algorithms have all admitted to censorship now on Flat Earth, 9/11, and alternate health as well. So when you type in Flat Earth, for instance, on Google, you get about 100 pages of disinformation. It's a fact. They're claiming to debunk it, yet none of it actually debunks it. It's just all of their presuppositions and a bunch of nonsense trying to claim something that isn't there, like saying the word gravity, which doesn't prove nothing. Gravity's still a theory. What gravity is essentially is relative density and possibly a dielectric acceleration, which is to do with the electric universe, that everything is statically charged and Earth is a conductor. So I would beg that you look into it for yourself. Here's some information. It's free. It doesn't hurt to think. We're not the Flat Earth Society. That's complete disinformation. There's literally PSYOP. It's run by government, control opposition. It will give you all kinds of misinformation, like, again, claiming that the Earth is a disk in space. That's not what we're saying. And we don't know there's an edge or anything either. People say, well, where's the edge? Well, I don't believe there's an edge. I think it goes on infinitely. I don't believe space is anything like they tell us on TV. I'm a spiritual person. I believe in multidimensional levels, parallel universes, and other such things. I absolutely believe in a creator, intelligent design. I'm not biblical, but there's a lot of people who are biblical on the flat Earth. The Bible does say the Earth is motionless in a flat plane, basically, but I just say that there is some sort of creation here happening, and we don't understand it, right? And they're trying to hide that from us, essentially.
Chasido. Gotta run.
Take care.
You too, I guess.
Keep an open mind. Don't sphere the truth. Hello.
If one looks at the CN Tower in the distance,
Yep.
you only see the top 2/3 of it.
That's not true, actually. You can see the whole entire sky dome, which is 280 feet, on a clear day. On some days you can't see it at all, so how do you explain that? That's just atmospheric distortion, that some days you see it, some days you don't. I
see it top 2/3 all the time,
Yep.
not just today.
Sure, of course. And you probably would assume that ships disappear over the horizon as well.
Yes, they do.
But, well, they don't actually. They just disappear from your perspective. And
Are
it's
you
all
for
to do
real,
with...
or is this just an amusement you do?
if I can finish answering the first one.
I think you're
I've
full-
done
full-
these.
full of-
You
you're
have
either full
you
of
have
shit.
binoculars.
You're either full of
you
shit.
take those binoculars, you'll zoom in and see the whole entire skyline of Toronto.
No.
Yes, I have photograph evidence.
Yeah, well, you see the top
I don't
part,
care
but
if you
don't
believe
see
me
the
or
bottom
not.
third.
You
Because
do.
the bottom third has disappeared.
The only thing you
over the
miss is
horizon.
about 40, 50 feet, which is due to water,
It's kind of funny.
swelling,
I was
and
telling my wife
minor
today
refraction.
That this is
Are you
proof
familiar with
positive
Phantom Morgana?
This is proof positive that the world is round, and even a Flat Earth Society person has to believe
Flat
it.
Earth Society is
And here you are.
misinformation. We're not the Flat Earth Society. That's disinformation run by government
Very
psyops.
interesting. Okay, thanks very much.
And round like a nickel. There's no edge. Goes on forever. As much as you can imagine. I gave it to all you guys.
Oh yeah, Mom.
Mom had it bad. Guys, want some information about Flat Earth.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, let me read this.
Thanks. Thank
Here you go,
you.
take two. Come on.
Oh, we can keep.
Hello. Can I offer you some information? Oh yeah?
You guys said the Earth was flat. Other people said, you know, it's round. It's based on projection. Based on telescopes about the Earth. But the Earth to me, you know, if it was circle, right, everything would tilt up and down.
That's on the assumption that gravity as a mass attracting mass or space-time curvature, as they claim, is real. But we actually don't believe in the theory of gravity as they tell us.
No.
We believe in relative density and dielectric acceleration, which is the Earth is a static plane. It's all electrical in the universe. We don't believe in the flying disc in space. That's Flat Earth Society. That's a psyop. That's disinformation. It's a propaganda campaign run by the government. So I believe Earth personally is an infinite plane. It goes on forever. And space, as they show us on television and the movies, is completely fake. You know, stars and the sun and moon are very local. And
I think differ on, you know,
well, nothing wrong with that.
you mark a point, and if you keep going,
Right?
okay, whether you go on land or water,
Yep.
okay,
Circumnavigation.
at certain points, you're back up.
Yep. And that's simple to explain. So on a globe, you know, the explanation is, okay, if you keep going east, you're going to come back around and end up back in the same spot, right?
Yeah.
Well, the fact that how the compass works, how north and south and east and west all work is east and west are governed by the North Pole. That's a fact. So you constantly have to correct your turn to go east.
Yeah.
And so simply all you're doing is going in a circle.
Yeah.
This is a flat model. So if you start here and you keep on your correction, keep correcting on the easterly path,
Right, if you go
you're going to come right back to the same spot.
Right.
So it's still a flat model here. You're just going in a circle.
But now, if
East
you're
or
going,
west. If you were to point straight,
if you keep going,
you go south eventually. That's a fact.
yeah.
That's how it works, right? That's, you know, so you can use the argument on the globe again, well, go east, well, it doesn't prove anything because you're just doing a circle. If you try and tell somebody, okay, go south and come back to the same spot, you'll never get that. Or north, the same thing. You'll never see that because you'll keep going over the North Pole and eventually end up going south. Now, there's no evidence that there is a South Pole. So there's all kinds of southern regions that have been claimed in the past through guys like Admiral Byrd in the 1900s. Early books about the Iron Republic saying there's another region, another land beyond the ice. We believe Antarctica is just a huge ice wall. It's kind of encapsulating the Earth's oceans, at least to our local area. So I mean, we don't know exactly because anything past the 60th parallel is forbidden. That's the Antarctica Treaty, formulated through the United Nations.
Yeah.
So, and this was basically after they started discovering that there's land and all kinds of stuff. And after 1950s, they formed that, made the treaty, so no one can freely go there on their own. So it makes you really kind of question it. Yeah, it's so you can't go to the north as well. It's completely hidden that you cannot travel past the 60th as well to the north, and you can't go too much south. So at what point do you start believing that they can do circumnavigation when there's no bipolar flights that go across the poles over them? You never see any footage. Planes do not fly over the North or South Pole. They always do a eastern, western, and kind of south, just beside the pole, the north, right? and also flight patterns. You know, they make complete sense on a flat Earth model. For instance, like going to Australia or anything from, say, the southern hemisphere, planes, they all come from the southern hemisphere on a globe, and they land to the northern hemisphere, and then they come back to the southern. That doesn't make sense at all, but on a flat model, they basically go straight across, right? It's a flat path, a straight, almost straight directional path. So, I mean, even if you look at these maps, this is a Gleason projection. It's an older map. You know, it's almost identical to you recognize this symbol? The United Nations. You know, that map is a projection of a flat model. It's not this, right? So,
that's based on projection.
Yeah, it's based off of the Mercator's projection, which is known to be proportionately wrong. Like Greenland is not the size of Africa, but yet they project it, I think, 14 or 12 times bigger than it is. And then when you look at the pictures, which are CGI, that they show us of the globe, they're showing us the Mercator's projection. So to me, it's like, if we know the Mercator's is wrong, then why is it being shown on the globe? So it's clearly improportionately wrong, right?
Land mass is bigger than what it is.
Yeah, so we know all the photos that are fake of the globes. We know satellites, there's no real pictures of them, so we do believe they're all local geocentrical, maybe off high altitude balloons. All aerial footage in the Google Maps is all done by high altitude between 500 and 1,500 feet. And, you know, so in high altitude balloons, right? World's communications, it's all run through underwater cables. 99% of it is, right? So you've heard a bit of this, I'm assuming then, it sounds like you're...
Yeah, like I said, there was a big debate at work. We had one guy that swears that the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
There's another guy going on, and you're nuts.
Yeah, yeah. People assume that, it's like, but they...
Because that's what, it's what they're fed over time.
It's their bias, yeah, it's their indoctrination, right?
Same thing with the Bible. I don't believe in the Bible. Nobody's been around when the Bible was created. It's all been thought of, written down, thought of again,
and rewritten and translated as well from Hebrew, right?
My wife is Catholic.
Right.
I keep throwing this question to her. If Mary was a virgin, how was Jesus conceived?
Yeah. I'm actually kind of on the same page with it, with the, we can't believe the testimony written by man in these books, right? I do believe in a creator, but I'm not a biblical person, not at all. But I absolutely believe in intelligent design. But even in the Bible, it does state that the earth is set on pillars, it's completely flat, the four corners, and it's motionless, you know. So I do believe there's merit in some of the verses of the Bible. I don't take it word for word, but I do believe in a creator. Hey guys, can I offer you some information? I mean, when you start to look into it, you see the truth for yourself.
Are you trying to convince people that the Earth is flat?
No, I'm more trying to convince you to think for yourself. It's when you try to prove to yourself that if you think you live here, you realize water always lays level. Planes don't adjust for curvature. That's a fact. So where's the curvature? And if not, the world is 71% water, and water always lays level and motionless when undisturbed. How is it a globe?
Like gravity, isn't it?
Gravity is merely a theory of when you say mass attracting mass or space-time curvature. It depends on what model you want to subscribe to. Essentially, to describe gravity in relative terms is basically relative density. Everything falls because it's heavier than air. There's no magical force pulling it down. It's as simple as that. And then for dielectric acceleration can say y down is down and up is up, but there's no evidence anything's holding you down. You cannot demonstrate water sticking to a ball.
Like, you know, like the middle of the Earth, what's it called? The core?
The
like
North
the hottest
Pole?
part. Like you're saying that doesn't exist? Does it exist?
Which? Sorry?
Like, you know, the middle part of the Earth.
North
like
Pole.
The hottest part.
The North Pole. Hyperborea?
Core of the Earth.
The core of the Earth.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Well, we don't know what the Earth is far enough down, what it is. You know that the deepest man has ever gone is drilled about 8 miles in Russia. And, you know, if they're claiming the Earth is about 25,000 miles in circumference, there's no way they would know what's in the middle of it. You know, I do believe in tectonic plates and shifting of continents, but that can work on a flat or a globe model. It doesn't prove anything about the outer shape of it, right?
Anyway, take care.
Take care, yeah. Thanks for talking. So essentially, again, it's just when you start to test these things and, leave your preconceived notions at the door, rationalisms and, prejudices, and start to use your own mind, challenge everything you think you believe.
What's the point of making people believe something you believe in?
What I believe in, or because what they've made you believe in is this. No one's making you believe anything with flat Earth. They're just telling you to question it. And the point would be why the lie is because if they're lying to us our whole life about where we live, then they're trying to control you, and they have been controlling you. Think about television
what's the point
programming.
Lying about the shape of the Earth. Who the fuck cares about the shape
Well,
of the Earth?
if there's no globe, there's no gravity theory, there's no heliocentric model, there's no Big Bang theory, there's no Darwinism, no evolution. We didn't evolve from monkeys. We are special. We are unique. Intelligent design, God/creator exists. Now, I'm not a biblical person, but I do believe intelligent design exists. You got to take it on your own biases. Learn, question things. Don't just believe what you're told. If you start to study astrology and you start to understand there's some truth there, these stars, constellations, they all make sense. Every year they repeat themselves. If you understand what the heliocentric model is, that the Earth is rotating around the sun and through the intergalactic space, then we would never see the same sky 2 nights in a row. But we see everything the same year, all year round. The North Star never moves. It's always centered.
So what about the solar system?
Well, right now they're just lights in the sky. But like I'm trying to explain to you, what the planetary alignments do in the stars. If you look at them through a telescope with your own eyes or a high zoom lens, you'll see that they're nothing like the CGI photos you get. Try and find a real picture of planets or the planets or even a satellite. They don't exist. They're all CGI. That's a fact. You can look it up. It's all artist rendering. It's, it may seem silly at first, but when you start to really, take this, as it is and quite question it, everything you thought is, it's a lie, I don't claim to have the answers. I'm just here provoking thought, handing red pills out, It's up to you to...
Lost their battery power there.
Smoke up in the atmosphere and stars at night to rain. People in the cemetery are feeling pain again.